Israeli occupation strikes rock the eastern Lebanese city of Baalbek and its outskirts. Israel pummels the Gaza Strip with new bombardments, killing at least 20 people. And the Commissioner General of UNRWA says the newly passed Israeli laws will create further instability in Gaza and the West Bank. You're now watching Q News. We start our bulletin with the latest developments in Lebanon.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين.
وضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan has demanded an immediate ceasefire in Palestine. Speaking at the high-level meeting of the Global Alliance for the Two-State Solution in Riyadh, Prince Faisal called on the international community to provide safe humanitarian corridors to provide relief for Gaza. He added the situation in Gaza is tragic due to the Israeli blockade and that international condemnations are no longer enough face of the suffering of the Palestinian people. The death from Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon since October 2023 has risen to 792, while injuries went up, reported. Lebanese military sources said that the Israeli occupation military on Tuesday conducted over 50 airstrikes on around 30 villages, towns and cities in southern Lebanon. In his first statement following his appointment, Hezbollah's newly appointed Secretary General Naim Qassem has reiterated the movement's stance on resistance as a to Qassem added that Israel's disregard for UN Resolution 1701 has been evident, with Hezbollah documenting over 39,000 air and sea violations since the resolution's enactment. Qassem emphasized Hezbollah's commitment to its resistance trajectory, underscoring his intention to follow the path set by his predecessor, Hassan Nasrallah. 2 people have been wounded by a Hezbollah rocket in northern Israel. One was suffering light wounds while the other sustained serious injuries all over his body, an Israeli hospital's trauma manager said. Israeli strikes have rocked the eastern Lebanese city of Baalbek and its outskirts hours after Israel issued an evacuation call for the area. Baalbek Mayor Mustafa Al-Shal confirmed strikes hit the city and surrounding areas without providing further details. Lebanon's caretaker health minister has warned that Israeli attacks are forcing more people from their homes, raising concerns that the displaced may face increased health risks as winter approaches. Making his comments during a visit to the Sublime Governmental Hospital in Mount Lebanon, Firas Al-Abyad said there are very large numbers of people who are either in shelters or elsewhere. He said that as winter is approaching, Lebanon might be seeing more cases of acute respiratory infections or other nutrition-related conditions. Hezbollah has said it launched drones at an Israeli base in the port of the city of Haifa. In a statement, Hezbollah said it launched an air attack with a squadron of attack drones on a base in southern Haifa. The Israeli Occupation Army said in a statement 50 projectiles were fired by Hezbollah, which crashed to Israel. Israel's military chief has warned Iran to stand down from any retaliation against Israel strikes Iran last week. The chief of general staff stated that in case of an Iranian attack, they will hit back with capabilities they refrained from using last time. Has pummeled the Gaza Strip with new bombardments that killed at least 20 people. 8 of today's victims were killed in a strike on the Salatin area of Beit Lahia in northern Gaza. The area said at least 93 people were killed or missing on Tuesday in an Israeli strike Washington called horrifying. Philip Lazzarini, the Commissioner General of the UN Relief and Works Agency, has said that newly passed Israeli laws effectively banning its activities will leave a vacuum that will cost more lives and create further instability in Gaza and the West Bank. Lazzarini said the legislation is ultimately against the Palestinians themselves, effectively denying them a functioning provider of life-saving services, education and health care. For more analysis, we now move to Salma Al-Fi'i in our newsroom. Over to you, Salma.
Thank you, Karim. And for further analysis on the situation in Gaza and Lebanon, we are joined today from Amman with the political science expert and former minister, Dr. Amin El-Mashaqba. And welcome to QNews, Dr. Amin.
Welcome. Thank you.
Let me just start off with, do you think the U.S. pressure succeed in achieving a ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon, do you think?
Now, actually, tomorrow, Thursday, there will be a visit by 2 consultants of the U.S. President to Israel, including Hochstein. They have proposals with them for a ceasefire in Lebanon based on the resolution 1701. Hence, the proposal to stop or to reach a ceasefire in Lebanon for 60 days, and consequently there will be discussions on the withdrawal of Hezbollah forces from the south of Lebanon towards the north of Litani. Thus, there are Israeli conditions, and I think the Israeli conditions are not accepted, including the supervision over the air, maritime, and land borders of Lebanon, in addition to allowing Israel to conduct attacks or affect the air sovereignty of Lebanon for the sake of Israel. I think this is rejected. And there's a new condition this evening, which is international forces on the Lebanese-Syrian borders. I think Hezbollah, based on the statements of the new Secretary General, they accept the ceasefire and the implementation of the resolution 1701. However, Israel has conditions. Consequently, if the negotiations succeed tomorrow in Tel Aviv with Netanyahu, Hochstein and the other consultant may head to Beirut to start talking with the Lebanese people or with the Lebanese government to start implementing the ceasefire resolution and the resolution 1701 for ceasefire again in Lebanon. In relation to Gaza Strip, the issue is very complicated, and I do not think that there will be the discussions didn't reach anything either in Qatar or in Egypt for a ceasefire in Gaza, because Israel has main goals including the occupying the north again and evacuating the Gaza residents or citizens from the north. That's why Israel seeks to impose other conditions, including removing Hamas from the authority and finding an alternative authority with different directions and ideology in Gaza Strip, while keeping control over Philadelphia cross point in general. I think the issue in Gaza is very complicated, and the negotiations with the Egyptian, Qatari and US mediation will succeed only after the end of the US elections in November 5th.
Dr. Amin, and do you think with the American elections coming up in just a few days, will Netanyahu, do you think, delay reaching a ceasefire until the new US president officially takes office?
In my opinion, the Israeli president or the Israeli leader supports Donald Trump to win in this election because of the Abrahamic peace plan in the region. That's why he seeks continuing the war until the end of the war in November 5th. That's why I think in relation to Gaza, the issue will be prolonged further. But in Lebanon, the matter will be shortened because there are clear Israeli losses and there is inability for the Israeli army to invade the Lebanese territories for the resistance of Hezbollah. Pertaining to Gaza, I think the matter and the ceasefire will not be achieved soon. I think the matter will continue until the end of the election after November 5th.
Do you think actually Israel will agree to a temporary truce in the coming days?
In relation to what? In Lebanon?
Exactly, Lebanon. Yeah, Lebanon. Yep. Lebanon or Gaza. Do you think Israel will agree to a temporary truce in the coming few days?
I think so, because there are massive losses for Israel in the south of Lebanon. The Israeli forces are unable to invade the borders for long distances because they want to reach the head of Litani River in the east-south, and at the same time they want to reach a buffer zone in 3 kilometers distance. So the Israelis now are unable to penetrate through or to impose their conditions or agenda on the Lebanese government. That's why I think in relation to Lebanon, the United States and Israel separated Gaza issue from Lebanon issue. So it's easy to reach a ceasefire in the Lebanese-Israeli borders.
And that was Dr. Amin El-Mashaqba. Thank you so much, Dr. Amin, for joining us today, political science expert and former minister from Amman. Thank you for your invaluable insights, and we are back to you again, Karim.
Thank you very much. That was Salma El-Fay in our newsroom. Now, the Commissioner General of the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, Philip Lazzarini, has stated that the political repercussions of the collapse of UNRWA are catastrophic. In a letter to the President of the UN General Assembly, Philippe Young, Lazzarini emphasized that the attacks on UNRWA would have great consequences on the international peace and security. He added that the attacks undermine Palestinians' right to self-determination and exacerbate the suffering of the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process, Tor Winsland, has emphasized the urgent need for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and called for the ultimate two-state solution. Winsland noted that the Middle East is at the most dangerous juncture. He highlighted the pressing need of a ceasefire in war-torn Gaza and Daytonese release deal, saying that if action is not taken, it will be impossible to fundamentally change the perilous situation in the Strip. Riyad Mansour, the permanent observer of the State of Palestine to the UN, has said that Israel's relentless war in Gaza has driven displaced Palestinians to desperation, with the entire population of northern Gaza facing the threat of death. Palestinian ambassador Riyad Mansour has also criticized Israel for crossing numerous red lines of international law and severely violating UN rules, and accused Israel of war against the United Nations in policies and its humanitarian agencies. A Qatari spokesman has said he remained hopeful but not necessarily optimistic about the outlook of Qatar's mediation talks, as well as those of its regional partners, to reach the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Foreign Minister's spokesman Majid al-Ansari said representatives from Qatar, Egypt, the United States and Israel gathered in Doha for peace talks on Sunday and Monday and made some progress. The spokesperson stated that relevant parties are continuing to advance the peace talks and that communication channels remain open. He added that the situation, however, is not easy. Now, since October 2023, escalating Israeli attacks have devastated Palestinian education, resulting in tragic losses among students and educators, widespread injuries, and the destruction of countless educational facilities across Gaza and the West Bank. Now let's go back to Salma Alfi in our newsroom, but now with more on Africa. Over to you, Salma.
Thank you, Karim. And now we move to the latest developments in Africa. The Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and Djibouti President Ismail Omar Guelleh have stressed their commitment to strengthening bilateral relations. The two presidents stressed continuing to advance joint cooperation in various matters, especially in the economic sector and in the areas of investment and trade exchange, as well as continued joint consultation and coordination on regional issues of mutual interest. The two presidents discussed the Red Sea region, focusing on maritime navigation safety and stability, as well as enhancing cooperation within the African Union. Botswana's President Mokgweetsi Masisi has cast his vote in the national presidential election. This election would determine whether Masisi will serve a second term in office. The president's Democratic Party has governed the country for 58 years since its independence in 1966. China's chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress of China, Zhao Leji, has met with Zambia's National Assembly Speaker Nelly Mati in Beijing to discuss enhancing bilateral relations. The talks followed a recent exchange of congratulatory messages between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema on the 60th anniversary of diplomatic ties between the two countries. Gao emphasized China's commitment to aligning its Belt and Road Initiative with Zambia's 8th National Development Plan, aiming to deepen cooperation and mutual trust. And back to you again, Karim.
Thank you very much. That was Salma Alfie in our newsroom with a deeper look on the African news. Now we move to the latest in the United States ahead of the presidential election.
We will build what I call an opportunity economy.
We will make America great.
We're ready to fight for it. As one people, we are moving forward.
We will make America safe again.
Democratic candidate Kamala Harris has vowed to serve all Americans if elected president, as she sought to contain fallout from a remark by President Joe Biden that threatened to undercut her message of unity. Harris is spending the final week of the campaign telling voters that she would respect those who disagree with her and portraying former President Trump as a threat to democracy. U.S. President Joe Biden's supposed attempt to call out racist remarks by a speaker at a campaign rally for Donald Trump backfired, as Trump and other Republicans accused him of calling their supporters as garbage.
Whether you vote for me or not, that is my responsibility, and that's the kind of work that I've done my entire career, and I take it very seriously.
Now, the Republican candidate Donald Trump has thanked Latinos for their support at a rally in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Trump did not comment on the remarks made by speakers at the Sunday event, where comedian Tony Hinchcliffe called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. President Joe Biden drew ire from Trump's campaign for remarks he made about the Sunday rally during a fundraising call on Tuesday. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin. Let's take a look at the headlines. Israeli occupation strikes rock the eastern Lebanese city of Baalbek and its outskirts. Israel pummels the Gaza Strip with new bombardments, killing at least 20 people. Commissioner General of UNRWA says the newly passed Israeli laws will create further instability in Gaza and the West Bank. Don't forget to always follow Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at QNews EGY to stay informed. And for real-time updates, connect with us on the UMS digital platform. Watch it. Thanks for watching. I'm Karim Hatton. Stay tuned for more on Q News.